howdy folks, welcome back for another Feature Friday. I'm your host Ryan Glover, and this week we're going to be talking about autolinking. So inside of the comments in command, when you type a comment that has a URL in it, and we'll say like http://google.com, when you do that, as of right now, all that gets displayed is the link, but you can't actually click it. And that's not terribly fun. Now, because command does support Markdown, you can do the brackets and all of that. But if you're not familiar with Markdown or you just don't think to use it, well, when you add a comment right now, it's kind of sucks. Like you just get a regular text link. So what I want to do is just kind of in real time here try and implement this feature. I don't think it's going to be too hard, and I just want you to see kind of how I would solve a problem like this in my day-to-day work. But before we do, I did want to tip you off to the new landing page for command. So we've been talking about command and all this stuff, and I've had this kind of junky page up on the Clever Beagle site, and it's still there. I need to do some work on the site over the next few days. But new landing page over at oncommand.io. And very simple, there's not much here yet, but it's just kind of describing where I'm taking this product, and it also gives you an opportunity to sign up to get into the private beta. So as of right now, I have a handful of people that are trying out the product, and I've got a few people on the list already that I want to invite. But if you've been watching these or you just came aboard and you're like, oh man, I want to play with this and give feedback and all that stuff, and also get some free access and goodies and stuff down the road, definitely pop in your email address, sign up, and I will send you out an invite as soon as I can, get you on board, and you can help out with the development of the product. So without further ado, over in this tab, we have a local copy of command running. So to be a little more specific, what we want to do, so this is just a card in command, and what I want to do is say make it so that if we type a URL like, we'll say Google, just because that's top of mind, and we'll say add comment. So right now we can see that this doesn't make this clickable, so I literally have to highlight it and then go and copy and paste it and do all that stuff, which isn't a good experience. So what we're going to do is jump over to npm, and I want to say I've used a package before called Autolinker. Yes, I have. Okay. And it's pretty much what you'd expect. So if we look, where's the API? It's very simple. There you go. So we get this autolinker.link along with the text to autolink. So we need to be a little bit careful here. And the reason why is because comments inside a command, again, support Markdown. And at the time that the comment is rendered, we transform it from just plain text into Markdown and then into HTML. That didn't come out. We transform it from Markdown into HTML. There you go. So what we're going to do is snag this package, and this is this doodle right here. And we're going to go to this window, and we're going to say Meteor, and then we're going to paste that. And the reason I put Meteor in front of that may look a little strange. Technically, I can just use npm install by itself. The reason I put Meteor is that ensures that inside of pup, and again, pup is the boilerplate that I use with mentees at Clever Beagle, and it's also what I use to build command. Inside of pup, because we're using Meteor, we have the choice to force Meteor, when it installs an npm package, to use its bundled copy of npm, or its bundled version. So that just ensures that if a package is using some sort of newer feature of npm or something like that, we don't get weird version mismatches and get a bunch of corrupt installs and stuff like that. So that just guarantees it's going to use the tools that we actually have at our disposal, and it's not going to use our system version of npm, which may be newer or older depending on how your system is set up. So that worked out. We've got our Autolinker package, and now what we're going to do is, let's see, using the static link method, using as a class. Let's see here. What's the reasoning behind this? Using the same. It's slightly more efficient. Okay, so I guess we're going to use a class on this one. That may be something I need to play with, but it doesn't seem like it's terribly different other than it using the constructor function here. So, all right, let's jump over to the code, and I want to make sure we might have to restart the app because I've noticed if I'm running my app lately and I install an npm package while it's running, I get goofy errors in Meteor. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves. So what I did before we started, I've opened up the comments component inside of command, and you'll also notice that when we go to render the content of a comment, so quite literally back here in the UI, when we render this part that I have highlighted is being rendered by this content component. And that is one that's built into PUP, and I've modified it here to use so that the content style, so if you have any user-generated content in the app, those styles are consistent, which is something to keep in mind for yourselves. So one of the problems I've always had in the past is if I have user-generated content, I'll write the CSS styles for that content, but then I always make the mistake of kind of siloing those styles so they end up in one place, and then I have to copy and paste them over to somewhere else, and it's just a mess. So I realized, like, well, duh, just make a single component that has those styles and then just wrap it around user-generated content. There you go. So the point we want to look at inside of this content component, we can see it's very simple. It's literally just a thin wrapper, and then that wrapper is given the styles for the content. And we can see that we've got this parse markdown function already in here, and I'm using dangerously set inner HTML. So if you've never seen that before, or if you have but you don't know what it is, that is just React's way of saying, like, hey, you're about to inject raw HTML into the page, make sure that you trust that HTML. And so where this comes into play is in cross-site scripting attacks, or script injection, or just injection attacks. So what that means is if you have a text input where a user can type in anything they want, technically a user could, so we'll just play pretend here and we'll say we're typing into an input, and that user could type in, you know, script source equals, you know, mybadsite.com slash blah blah, and then they could set it up so that that script executes itself as soon as whatever they're typing into is printed to the screen. And so the way around that is to make sure that you're sanitizing all of your input. And if you look inside of PUP, whenever you add a new, I want to say it's either, it's definitely a comment. So when you add a comment to a document inside of PUP, a sanitization, I think it's called sanitize HTML, is added. So that rips out all of the bad stuff. So that's one way around this. So if you ever see this and you're a little nervous, just make sure that you're sanitizing whatever input you get from users. That way, don't really have to worry about it. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to assume that everything is kosher in terms of the content that we're getting back and we're trying to render to the comment. But we still need to do our auto linking. So because I'm getting old and my memory is shot, I need to go back to the docs. And we're going to say, okay, import capital A Autolinker. And yeah, okay. What package name did I install? Oh, I'll tell you, if you're young, enjoy it. Things get foggy. You wouldn't think they do. Okay, so at the top of this file, I like to put my npm dependencies up top. So we're going to say capital A Autolinker from Autolinker. And then we're going to say const Autolinker equals new Autolinker. I think that's right. Yes. And they're talking about options. What are the options? Oh, neat. Links have a new window. Now see, sometimes in documentation they make it look like the array is the way you're supposed to pass the options, but I would imagine this is an object. Yeah, providing an object as the second parameter. Technically, in our case, we're not doing that. We're going to pass it here. So we're going to say new window true, just because that sounds pretty good. What is this? True to have URLs autolink. Well, come on. That's why we're here. Defaults to true. Okay, I'll calm down. True to have email addresses autolink. Defaults to true. Cool. Phone numbers get linked. You know what? I've never liked that, so that's the one I'm gonna say no. What's wrong with no? We're not linking phone numbers. What are the hashtags? Look at this. Okay, well, just to avoid you sitting here watching me like make dad noises and read the documentation, I'm gonna come back and play with this and really tweak it later. But let's see if we can just get it working. So for now, we'll just say new window true when you click and it opens in a new window, and then phones say don't do that. Let's be adults here. And so let's see, what was it? It's autolinker.link text to autolink. Now this is where this gets a little bit squirrely. Okay, what I was just thinking about, and let's space this out so it's a little more readable for maintenance later. What I was just thinking about is, well, what's the order of operations here? So we're passing content, which is just a string. So we assume that it might have some markdown in it, but it doesn't necessarily look like anything, literally just a text string. So what I was thinking is like, well, do we want to auto-link before we parse the markdown, or do we want to parse the markdown and then auto-link that? And I'm thinking we want to do the auto-link inside of here. So literally run the auto-link first on the plain text, and that should give it A tags, which is good. And then those A tags will be recognized by the markdown parser, and we should get what we want. So we're just going to say autolinker.link. We're going to pop the content in there. You're yapping. Okay. All right, so fingers crossed here. And because we're doing this at render time, what's nice about this is we don't have to retroactively go back to our database and like find all the links and write a bunch of A tags to our database. We don't have to do that. We can just say at output time or at render time, go ahead and do this linking for us. So back in the browser, let's give us a refresh. We getting the error I was thinking about? See? Yeah, this autolinker is not a constructor. So we're going to stop that. We're going to restart it. And while it's restarting, trying to think if anything interesting happened this week. Something like really, really fun. I know there's something in there. I know there is. It's not coming to mind. Oh, I did just read something interesting. So on the side for all this stuff, one of the things that I'm doing is learning Elixir. So if you've never heard of Elixir, Elixir is a language based on Erlang, and it's used for functional programming. And the reason I'm learning that is that I'm thinking if this command stuff works out later, I'm going to need to know how to scale it quite a bit, because some of the features I have planned are going to have a lot of data coming in. So I've been learning a lot about how to use Elixir to write certain parts of command to ingest tons of data at once without having a freak out. Not to speak poorly of Node or anything like that, but I think I can get what I want a little easier with Elixir and Erlang. And where we be? Let's see here. Good. Okay. So now we're restarted. Now, there we go. Look at that! We got an auto link. Cool. So let's play with it. We're going to say every nerd, well, let's be factual here. Every angry nerd's favorite website is news.ycombinator.com, also known affectionately as Hacker News. And there it goes. It is working. And they said something about emails in here. So if I say, we should send an email to Ryan, not Gover, can't even spell my own name, cleverbeagle.com, and add comment. And I'm not going to click that, because every time I click those damn email links, it goes into my mail app that I don't use. You'd think I would configure that, but actually, did I configure that? No, I did not. It's definitely going to the one I don't want. Oh, goodness. Oh, it opened a new tab. Okay, so I might have to noodle with that based on what they click on. But that's okay. So cool. That worked. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to do here, and I don't think there is. So yeah, I think we're going to make this a quick one. Again, stupid little feature. I know you're probably watching this like, that's not a feature. This is ridiculous. All you did is install. Like, I know. Deep breaths. But yeah, sometimes you got to do the little bit of work. That feels good. So I think that's going to do it for me this week, folks. If you have any questions, or maybe you want to see more stuff like this, but maybe a little more in depth, so me installing packages and configuring them and making them work with the code that I've already got, I can walk you through how I approach that. This one was pretty small, but some of these things are, for the bigger tools are pretty involved, so we can walk through that. That's going to do it for me. So if you have any questions or comments, pop them below. And if you haven't already, make sure to click the subscribe button and hit the bell just to the right of it. Make sure you get notifications as soon as these are published. So signing off for the HMS Beagle. I'll see you next week, folks.